Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. A former Goldman Sachs executive has stated that, quote, "I'm long a bit," end quote. And I'm going to share with you the rest of his specific comments, but he's holding XRP, and he has for, probably almost 2 years based on his previous public statements here. And he articulates why, and he thinks that it's going to be worth a lot more in the future. There's a reason he's making the bet that he's making here. Also, on top of that, it's worth noting, and I mentioned this yesterday. So I've been in crypto almost 5 entire years. XRP's behavior is not normal relative to the previous 5 years. It is, and it has been for weeks at this point, mostly just ignored the major drops in the world of crypto. And crypto moves in tandem with stocks, obviously. So have you seen the stock market drop? You see crypto go down. XRP's mostly just been like, even if it moves in response to that, it's just like barely little tiny baby movements. It's about it. It's at 51.3 cents at the time that I'm recording this, and we're seeing increased activity on the XRP ledger, specifically with whales. I've got an article I'm going to share with you, just a brief part of it having to do with whales increases, transactions way up, and good news too. So like, even though in terms of price action, XRP, at least for now, has not been responding like it normally does to, typical downward pressure, as we've seen periodic drops in crypto markets. It's also the case, though, that there are whales accumulating not just XRP, but also Bitcoin, despite the downward volatility. And I've always said, generally speaking, like whales, they're like institutional investors in the sense that they behave differently than the typical retail speculator. The typical retail speculator will panic sell as prices drop, and they will buy as prices rise even higher. And so it's always interesting to me. It's just a metric to be aware of, but to see whales doing what they're doing with price being as, scary in air quotes as it is right now. So plenty to talk about, but before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this, as noted, XRP at 51 cents. Bitcoin at $19,453, market cap for the asset class $964 billion, and Bitcoin dominance at 38.68%. So it won't surprise anybody that we're still mostly range bound, with the exception of over the last few weeks, XRP has just been like, well, screw you, the rest of the crypto market, I'm going to do my own thing. And XRP went from 32 cents up to 55 cents, and it's a little volatile within a narrow band here, but still not behaving the way that it has for most of the last 5 years. And that's interesting. People are treating it differently. And I think it's reasonable to speculate that a lot of that has to do with recent developments in the SEC v. Ripple case, all of the pre-trial stuff. I think it's perfectly reasonable to speculate that's played a heavy part in all this. In fact, there was one instance, and I can't remember which it was, where when certain news broke, XRP's price reacted positively instantly. The timing matched up. I can't remember which. There's been so many developments, I just can't remember which one it was, but I reported it at the time. Crypto Fear and Greed Index at 22 out of 100. So typical retail lemming speculators out there are currently in extreme fear. So look at some of these headlines, and not that I need to or want to go through all of these articles, just kind of make a broader point here. Like the degree to which XRP is in the news is much more substantial than normal. Now, it's a large cap coin, and especially with the litigation, it's always in the news. But I'm telling you, over the last few weeks, call it 3-4 weeks, whatever it's been, it has been very noticeable. There's been an uptick on all sorts of sites. Say, look at this headline from the crypto. I'm not complaining. I'm just observing this. There's just like a ton of attention around XRP. And like I said, I think it has to do with the positive speculation that things are going to turn out just fine for XRP holders. That's what I think the speculation is about. So here's a headline from the Crypto Basic. XRP up 70% in 30 days. David Goxting says it's the only legitimate asset doing well. And that was a quote, only legitimate asset doing well. And again, so on so many days there's been downward price action. XRP's like, So in that sense, that part actually does make a bit of sense. The only other coins that would be to the positive, maybe if there are some that ended up a hair higher. Other than that, I mean, it would just be random, small cap coins. But you're talking about a large cap coins that is legitimate in XRP, that's actually functionally useful, used in enterprise grade software. Yeah, that's an outlier. And I don't mind that one little bit. Here's another headline from the Crypto Basic. Over 70 million XRP on the move as XRP price soars. And I'll note that the recipient of a big transaction here was to one of Ripple's on-demand liquidity partners. So don't know for sure if it was usage of on-demand liquidity or something else. But either way, I'm just pointing out there are massive flows here. XRP continues to be adopted, continues to be useful, despite all of the uncertainty by the typical retail speculator, despite all the uncertainty that's provided as a gift by the SEC. I sarcastically say it's a gift, of course. And then there's this from CoinGape, XRP price today. Whales add 60 million XRP, price jumps by 6%. And this is from just earlier today. And so over a 24-hour period, whales added 60 million XRP tokens. And this is always interesting to me, as I cited at the outset of the video, because whales and institutional money tends to behave very differently than your typical retail speculator. If they're buying here, it's not that they know for sure that the bottom is in, but if they're doing this, that's a vote of confidence that either we're about there, or I mean, it's close enough. And if it goes lower, these types of participants in the market, they don't respond emotionally, they don't sell. They just don't. I mean, there'd have to be some sort of weird outlier instance where, like, oh, there's actually some sort of hole in the XRP ledger code that's finally been exposed after an entire decade, and XRP can be printed all willy-nilly, or something disastrous like that, which isn't going to happen. I mean, that would be outrageous if something like that happened anyway. So I'm just saying, that's why. There's a high level of confidence here just in general. And it's also true, thankfully, with Bitcoin. I don't want to read this article either, but the headline from you today was mysterious Bitcoin whale allocated almost 5,000 Bitcoin since mid-September. So they were talking about one individual whale, and their holdings ended up becoming worth something like $521 million. And I think they went from like holding, I'm using round numbers, like 21 to all the way up to 26,000 Bitcoin. But that's a vote of confidence because, again, it's not like they believe they actually bought the literal bottom, but that's a vote of confidence that you got to be about there, right? Don't you think? Wouldn't you suppose that that's reasonable? And then there's this headline from the Daily Huddle. Bitcoin whales escalate feeding frenzy, collectively adding over 930 million in Bitcoin. And this comes from Sentiment, which does on-chain analytics for Bitcoin, but not just Bitcoin. They also talk about XRP. But I like the work that they do. So check out this. Cryptocurrency analytics platform Sentiment says Bitcoin whales have accumulated heavily over the past 9 days. Sentiment says that since Tuesday last week, Bitcoin whales have added Bitcoin worth approximately $931 million at time of writing. According to the crypto analytics platform, this is the longest period of sustained accumulation by Bitcoin whales since May. And here's a quote from Sentiment. Bitcoin whales are showing signs of sustained accumulation, which has been a rarity in 2022. Since September 27th, addresses holding 100 to 10,000 Bitcoin have collectively added back 46,173 Bitcoin back to their wallets as large USDT Tether holdings have dropped. And so in some of these whales, and I'm happy to acknowledge this point, sometimes when there's a quote-unquote like big enough move, whatever that subjectively means to them, occurs, then they'll sell, and that could be before the next all-time high. Like, yes, the whales do that. But I'm just saying, for them to be purchasing here, they must believe that the most probable outcome, even though this may not literally be the bottom here, is that you're going to see a move to the upside. But it's never the doomsday scenario that the typical retail speculators feel that it is, right? And then there's this from the Daily Huddle. Macro guru Raoul Pal believes bullish outlook on XRP. And this is the former Goldman Sachs executive. The piece reads as follows. Macro expert and former Goldman Sachs executive Raoul Pal says he's bullish on XRP and believes the case against Ripple will be resolved in favor of the San Francisco payments company. And so I'll pause note again, just reiterate the point. I do think that this is a major factor in why the price of XRP has been moving up. And it's very reasonable to speculate that because, as I noted, and I covered it at the time, during one of the big news events recently within the last couple of weeks or so, when that news broke, whatever it was, XRP immediately moved in tandem upward right at that exact moment. And there's been a lot of sustained confidence since then. Not that it hasn't moved a bit back down to the downside. I mean, even recently got as low as, I can't remember, even 43 cents or something like that, but it didn't stay there long. Moved to the upside. Anyway, piece continues. In a new Real Vision Finance video, Paul explains his current stance on the 6th largest crypto asset by market cap. And here is a quote. I'm long a bit. I think it's like a special situation, and I think the court case gets resolved positively, and it goes up. It's actually a very used protocol. By using Metcalfe's law, it's pretty decent. The only thing he says, the only thing, Americans can't invest in it because it got taken off the exchanges. So I'll pause now. Technically, we can. It's just a lot harder because there are only a couple exchanges that actually offer it to this point. But still, the bigger point isn't lost to me in terms of Metcalfe's law, which is exponential adoption. He's noting that's occurring with the XRP ledger, and he tracks that with Bitcoin and other coins as well. And so he thinks it goes to the upside. And that's why it's like, just seeing that XRP ran up from 32 cents to 55 cents on this type of positive expectation in terms of a court case before an actual definitive ruling or settlement, that instills confidence. If XRP ran that high just on a suspicion based on some good news that at some point in the future this thing's going to be resolved to the positive, what do you think is going to happen when there's actually a settlement or when this thing's fully adjudicated in court to the positive, assuming that happens? What do you think's going to happen? I think that XRP will just go ballistic. I don't know exactly what that means, and I don't make price predictions. Hell, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's going to go absolutely bonkers to the positive. And anyway, Rob Paul continues, though. He says, but generally speaking, it does what it's supposed to be doing. It's working as a payment transmission. I have no issue with it. There's plenty of activity on chain, and Metcalfe's law prices it appropriately to where it is. And so fine, if it's in the wheelhouse of where Metcalfe's law says it's supposed to be super duper great, especially since it's up a little bit, but still, I do think, and I think it's pretty reasonable to suppose this given that we've seen positive news push XRP price up, I think that it was artificially low. The XRP price has been artificially low. I think that's why a big part of the reason why, if not the entirety of why XRP was the only large cap coin, the only top 10 crypto on the planet to not hit a new all-time high last year, this last market cycle, as markets were going ballistic. XRP is the only one that didn't hit a new all-time high. It still went to $2, and that's a lot higher than where it is now. That's cool, great. But man, I think it's pretty reasonable speculation that it is artificially suppressed to this point. Now, Raoul Paul has previously said when the price of XRP was around $1 or so, I'm pulling from memory here, admittedly, but when it was around that point, he said that he expects a 10x increase. So he does think it's very possible, especially once this is all, the legal stuff is all square. He's thinking $10 XRP, it seems. And I can't disagree. I'm not making a prediction, but that doesn't sound wacky to me. The idea of it going there or higher at some point in the future, that doesn't seem the least bit wacky to me. Not at all. So positive, there's a lot of positive stuff. I know that a lot of people are paying less attention now as crypto markets are, looking a bit bearish, admittedly. And I understand it's less exciting when prices are down, but there's a lot of reason to be very optimistic in my humble opinion. There's a reason that I'm excited to track this stuff every single day. I just feel like this is such an opportunity, and people that aren't paying attention are squandering it. So kudos to you for paying attention, and thank you for supporting my channel. But even if you weren't listening to me, kudos to you for paying attention to crypto in the first place, because almost no humans on the damn planet are. It's just unfortunate for them ultimately, but to each their own, I suppose. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. So that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.